there has been some serious volatility in the market, and it seems like on the short term, there is some corrective actions happening. But if we take a step back and look at this, last 7 days, this is the picture. Last 30 days, this is the picture. Last 1 year, this is the picture. So you get that perspective clear. This is the direction which we are going in. See, this is Bitcoin dominance. We posted this few weeks back, and this, if you watch this, we were putting the argument. Right now, it's at 50. It's going to go higher towards 54. Then, if you actually end up watching the same Bitcoin dominance right now, what would you actually see? That's now at 54 and it's slowing back down. So this is what you should be looking at. When the Bitcoin dominance is going up, yeah, Bitcoin kind of rules the market, it kind of takes in the money, and that moves come in. When the other side happens, that means you're going to watch altcoins running higher. You're going to watch these price action coming as a reality. Now, there's a lot of different discussion happening, but if you actually take note of these points, which the market itself shows to us, then you're like, okay, maybe there is a higher possibility. This is what's going to happen next. Last time when we were here, which means at this point, I was giving you guys a narrative, watch this. I think there is a huge possibility we're going to follow this. And as of now, looking at it, I can say that's exactly what we have done. Great. Next is what? And if you look at XRP and ask the same question, like, where are we? What are we going to do? It's really interesting. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Right now, when you look at all this, there will be a question like, okay, how can we actually understand this is going to drop? Say, when we were here and we were breaking to the downside, I told you guys, okay, watch for this range. It's going to be important. We're going to come back down. I was saying, okay, this is what's going to happen, right? Now that goes back 2-3 months, right? And I was saying that's important. That was an important update back then, saying, watch this. I think we are about to drop close to 1500. And if you watch, where did we make that bottom? Close to 1500. Did that turn out on the same day? No, it took some time. So even if you read the language of technical analysis, you need some patience. You need a lot of discipline. Now, getting into this point, this was like a month back. Where are we right now? That is something critical to understand if you are trying to define that market. If you are following the market in a similar context, you would put the argument, okay, we are actually doing something like this. We are actually doing something like this, which means you do have a median range where the price action is kind of moving up and down. That's great, which means now you know, okay, if you are going to bounce, you would bounce from here. But most likely you may come down to this range and bounce, and that would give you some more room in altcoins to move up. And that's exactly why I think we are holding on to this range, even though Bitcoin is slowing down. So if you look at XRP on its microstructure, I know there's a lot of argument coming in the market saying it's going to pop, but we're consistent. We are looking at this saying like, okay, there is a possibility that the price is going up on a 4-hour chart. RSI is going down. So usually what happens after this comes into the picture is that you return to test your support. That would look something like this. Now, we want to actually see how low in terms of price action we will go, because we were talking about the same in the group, putting different arguments and giving you guys the right picture, showing you, okay, watch this. This is a range to look at. That's one. What's next? For XRP, this is going to be another level to watch. So this particular range for me is a great buying opportunity in XRP if it's actually bottoming here. We will get the updates. We will look at how the price action is behaving. You'll go to a short-term chart to see, okay, are we really getting a lot of buyers? Because if we are getting a lot of buyers, that's huge. Because remember, short-term, yes, learning about that is interesting. But when you zoom out, this is like a macro chart. Watch what the RSI is doing. Each time you do this, you bounced. So that was a strong level of support. But the moment you broke that, it became a resistance. You got rejected first time. You broke back higher. You came back to retest it. You retested that and bounced off. That is a huge, huge, huge signal, because historically speaking, we have done that before. We got rejected the first time, we broke higher, we retested, we bounced off. Now, what was that time like? That was the actual run up which happened in the 2021. So if you are here in the market right now and you went through a lot of these patience kind of thing, now your time is getting really close to think about where you're going to take profits and what are the targets. Right now, that's where we are. So if you actually go on a weekly chart, say let's remove the noise. This is what it's showing you. There has been no change. Look at the volume. The volume is still decent. It's still bullish. It's not bearish. And on a weekly, you can also agree with me that this is clear. And right now, the RSI supports that same narrative. You are breaking back in. So as soon as you see some amount of money coming into the market, you will see some burst happening. We are still at $1.32 billion. This is something you need to keep in mind. There is a little bit of correction happening, but you don't see a lot of money getting out of the crypto market. That means money is still here and money will come in. New money is entering the market. That is a huge opportunity. Now, how do we actually think about this? When we compared this and highlighted the factor like, okay, watch this, guys. We may actually run in that direction. We did. Now, what's the next step? That's what we are looking at. So if Bitcoin is to correct back down, maybe there is a fake out kind of a move, and then you may actually go put in another high. If that's the possible movement which we are watching in the market, it is going to be really interesting. Now, why am I saying that? For XRP, as soon as this range breaks, it is going to be a critical liquidity range. Now, why do I say that? If you actually put that range all the way back from this time, you'll actually agree with me that, okay, watch this. This was a support resistance zone. This again was a resistance. This was a resistance. Again, another one here, here, here. So you're repeating. The market is agreeing on that point. You went to the upside, came back down, made a fake out, and now you're trying to break back above that. So your RSI is saying, I'm getting back into the trend line. Price is showing, I'm trying to break a level which has been there from 2018. That's a massive move. It should start a massive move. Now, you do have different measured moves, your pattern, your trend, your wave. We do all type of analysis to understand, okay, what's the average ROI like? What should we be looking at, right? And we go through a lot of different targets. We understand that we are regularly watching all of those. So once you understand we are doing this, we did break higher, we're coming back down, we're bouncing back higher. All this kind of, flows into one area, which is you are in a new trend. You will need a ton of patience to ride it till the top. If you want the price of this asset to be at $5, $10, $15, it should reach there, and you need to give the market time so that it can do what it wants. Literally, you need to give time for it to come to a price where you want to buy. You need to give it more time for it to reach to an area where you want to take profit. One of the primary reasons when we look at the market is the market tries to manipulate each and every one of us. Not just one of us, but each and every one of us. We have seen this historically. We have seen these moves. Say you actually get to see these kind of divergence on an hourly, but then are you really breaking to the downside? No, you're not. Right? You go here and you're like, okay, the market is slowing down, but are you going down? No, you're not. You're going back up. You consolidate, you go back up. So if that's the case, then for XRP or most of the crypto assets which are trending higher, I would actually put this perspective. The 1, the 2, the 3 in the microstructure is done. Great. So coming back down a little bit will be creating a ton of buying opportunity for anyone who thought, okay, I missed a little bit lower price. But I really don't think that you're going to see something like 0.4 or below that. If you're waiting for something like that, the odds for that happening in this market is much, much lower than most of you would anticipate. You have one trend line here, which is good, which is great. Then you have another trend line which validates like the momentum is increasing. It's not a gigantic increase, but it is still increasing. So if you go back, you actually understand the fact that, okay, having such a trend line where the price follows that is critical. because as soon as that trend line changes, that shift kind of pushes the price, not at the first point. The first point is slow. You get back into that trend, you want to bounce off that, and then you start gaining momentum. So which level should be that resistance? I believe this is that level. You are now above that. Now you want to retest this, and a bounce should be something attractive. Now, are you getting a negative divergence on a daily? As of now, no, you are not. So no one is actually selling big here. Say last time when we were doing this here, I was like, okay, there is a big drop in the RSI. So that kind of shows like a lot of people are moving out. So you remove the noise and this is what you get, right? Right now, you don't have that. So I'm like, okay, let us zoom out. We want to see, do we have anything negative on the macro? No, we are super bullish. So if you understand this and you're trying to position yourself, then you're like, okay, getting all this on the right time may make sense because all of that is becoming the reality. This was posted earlier this month, October 17th, when the price was still below 30,000, say 20,000, 28,000, close to that. And we were saying, okay, watch this. This is a possibility. We would do this. And we did that. And if you actually go back a little bit, the thought process of what's happening here is going to come here was laid out in different terminologies, in a different ways for you guys to understand that, yeah, we are doing that. It is just we need the patience to wait to see that becoming a reality. Now, that created a lot of opportunity in the market. That is exactly what you're watching here. You're watching a lot of these assets running up 50, 60, 70%, 100%, 200%, depending upon whether they are in the large cap, the small cap. So when you have a portfolio, make sure you have low risk assets on the large cap, then some medium and some small and some micro nano caps is fine because they burst the biggest, right? We understand that because that's small cap, but the certainty for that is much lower. You really don't know which one of those are going to pop like crazy. So if you are completely risky guy, you can go for that. But most of us are like, okay, I'll go for heavy fundamentals and then a little bit in medium and a little bit or a tiny, teeny bit in the high risk assets. 1% pops, that's great. Remember, each asset does its own thing. Here, if you're watching one asset like this, which has actually went up like 700% in the last one quarter, so you go look at the chart and ask the question, what are you really doing? I personally believe this is serious because you need to understand what the market is doing and where to take the profit. For me, that's critical. Say you got in the bottom, you bought in here. Exactly. Say the breakout here is around $14, $15. That was where our call was. And we have topped out here close to 118, 120 something. Say 120. Our call was around 118, saying take profits. So if you are trading the market, then that becomes an important part because you do understand that, yeah, the price is going to give you opportunity. And once you are like, 8x, you also have to understand those who did pick the bottom get about 10x. So they are taking profits. 1, 2, the price is at the all-time highs. You can expect some people selling in this region. So you should get some selling pressure. Yeah, and you're having the negative divergence. So understanding that gives you the advantage. And if you believe that seriously, look for this. This is the Patreon where I do all that. There are about 558 people right now taking benefit of these updates. Now, if you are in the market and you want to get something like that, I would suggest now is the best time. This is the start of the month. You'll see a lot of people coming in, but understand opportunities are important to understand. Where is your actual buy zone? Where is your sell zone? Getting that in a short, medium, long term kind of gives you the advantage because once you look at the price action and understand that, you now have a serious edge over the market. 90% of the people don't make money in the market even if they take 10 trades, 20 trades. If you're a long-term guy, the story is different. You need to make sure you're in the right assets and then know where your targets are and then have an enormous amount of patience to ride it till there. So if I'm looking at this, I would say you right now have a huge opportunity to join the SI family. So if you're watching this in the YouTube, link for this is in the description below. If it's in the Twitter, it's in the bio. Now, jumping back, just to give you guys a clear picture of what's happening. Divergence is still here. We may look for a short-term correction, but when you zoom in, you need to actually keep your eyes focused on one thing. What is it? Are we invalidating the trend? If not, there is no reason to go bearish. Say this is the area where you have been playing around with, right? So unless you see this trend line break to the downside, there is no much of a big deal to be cautioned about. So you are watching for this trend line, which is like 3,500, 3,300 in that range. And that gives you an idea like, okay, that means you can still come back down to that trend line, that exact trend line, and still bounce off. We have done this. We have done this in the recent past too. Say you do all this volatility, and then you pop. Then you consolidate, then you pop. Now the pop here was comparatively bigger, so you have a longer consolidation, which is good. Because after that, if you are to see something like this, again, that's going to create some more FOMO into the market. We are watching the big guys talking about this. And when they actually give you the idea here, they're showing you that these are one of the best times to buy an asset. And who's this guy? That's like, Fidelity, $4.5 trillion assets, and they are highlighting this. Maybe just 1% of it will come to crypto. But that itself is a big deal for the crypto market, because when they enter, it won't just be them. You'll actually watch a lot of their competitors coming in. Now for XRP, there is a ton of good news as always. Now that's why, in the earlier session, I was actually posting and asking a question like, okay, we have a great news. When is the price slowing down? Just, But if you actually look at the reality, fundamentals of this asset is increasing every single day, which should attract a lot more buyers into this market for this asset. And that means there's a lot of retail investors entering into this asset. And for me, that means there's going to be a lot of manipulation this time around. Compared to last time, you will see a hell lot of manipulative moves in the market. That is exactly where you need to understand what are the odds showing you. Basic thing, follow the trend line. If the trend line is still valid, good, great, ride that. Now, look for the RSI. If it's showing you that that trend line is getting violated, that means you need to be cautious. Now, it depends on which time horizon you're looking at and what you're doing. If you're a micro trader, you're looking at a 30 minutes or an hourly chart. If you're a serious guy who's actually looking for a short to medium term trades, you're most likely looking at the daily chart and you're like, okay, we may get some good prices here. If it comes back down towards 0.55, 0.56, okay, I'm going to re-enter that range. Now, why am I putting that particular range with that level of importance? When I'm looking back, I would say, okay, we have this range where the price has been acting as a resistance before. So this time around, when we are coming from the upside to the downside, this should act as a support and we should be able to bounce off from there. One thing is that this trend line is still intact. We are bouncing off, which is great. And this rounded bottom is now becoming a big range to keep your eyes focused on. Historically speaking, these patterns have started a big rally in all these assets. We have watched how those actually played out, right? So when you actually go back into these assets, we will watch this. We have actually seen this. We have discussed about this. Keep your mind focused on this. You have a resistance, great. You break through that range, you retest and bounce off. And that retest and bounce happens to be a rounded bottom and you start getting momentum. So zoom out and ask this question to yourself. What are you watching in the market right now? Are you really watching something like this? Maybe. And these patterns, they usually end up creating what? Another burst. What? Another burst. What? Another burst. So if you're waiting for a big correction like 40-50%, it can be difficult. What you can actually expect is somewhat like a 40 to the max here, which we have already completed for most of the assets which we are following, say 45%. Now, if you redo that, saying, okay, I'm going to come back and retest this support before I bounce, that's like 18-20%. That's it. Unless you are levered like 10, 20, 50x, that's not a concern for you. It's not kicking you out of the market. You're still in the trade. You're riding it till the upside. Just follow your trend line. If your trend line is following like this, you want to make sure until that trend line is violating, You want to be in that trade. You want to make sure that you're following that. If it's bouncing off, great, let it do that. Let it go wherever it want to go. And as soon as it shows big guys are exiting, you follow the money, you take profit, and you move out. So guys, if you receive value for your time, please do smash that like button for me. That supports the growth of this channel. And if you are here for a one-on-one session, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below, where we go through your portfolio. I give you my opinion, my thought process about different assets, different segments in the market, and what I think is possible about the targets of different assets in your portfolio. So guys, I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.